when the singer R. Kelly was facing really quite mind-blowing underage sex charges, a Chicago lawyer named Ed Gensen defended him successfully. Mr. Kelly was acquitted of those charges, and Mr. Gensen has now moved on to defending Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich. Patrick Fitzgerald had Blagojevich arrested last week and announced a criminal complaint against him. It was just a criminal complaint. Blagojevich was not actually indicted. Fitzgerald has until December 29th to either start preliminary hearings in the case or get a grand jury to indict the guy. Now, while Fitzgerald is getting his case together, he's asking all the other political players involved in this drama to essentially stop what they're doing and wait for him. The Illinois House's newly formed impeachment committee only met for about an hour today before they adjourned, essentially because Fitzgerald asked them for a formal letter detailing their witness lists for the impeachment hearings. The New York Times describes that letter as, quote, indicating some reluctance about having witnesses testify who might harm the federal case. Yesterday, Team Obama said they had their own detailed list of contacts between themselves and Blagojevich's office all ready to go, but they said it would not be released publicly until next week, again, because Fitzgerald asked them to hold off so as not to harm his federal case. So sitting in limbo here while nobody's harming the federal case is Illinois, the fifth most populous state in the union, down approximately 50% of its United States senators. And with a state government essentially hamstrung, Governor F. Word is still going to work every day, and the legislature and the attorney general and the lieutenant governor and the state Supreme Court, they're all occupied with this drama of how and whether and when to get rid of Blagojevich, all because of how guilty Fitzgerald made him seem at that hurry-up press conference a week ago.
We're in the middle of a corruption crime spree, and we wanted to stop it. I was not going to wait until March or April or May to get it all nice and tidy and then bring charges and then say, by the way, all this bad stuff happened because no one was aware of it back in December. I think that would be irresponsible.
Stopping a political crime spree in action. Awesome. That's why you're a teen idol, Mr. Prosecutor. On the other hand, what if Blagojevich is innocent? I mean, there's enough evidence in the complaint to make fun of him and to make fun of his hairdo and to do fake Chicago accents and swear a lot imitating him. But the governor's new R. Kelly lawyer is having none of this guilty until proven innocent stuff.
The media is taking control, and I think the case is not what it seems, and I think that when it comes to pass, you'll see it's not what it seems, and you'll find that he's not guilty. He's not stepping aside. He hasn't done anything wrong. We're going to fight this case.
We're going to fight this case. He hasn't done anything wrong. He's not stepping aside. The case is not what you seem. Wow. Well, the governor himself isn't talking, but he says that doesn't mean he doesn't want to be talking.
I'm dying to talk to you. I'll let you know at the appropriate time.
Okay, you may be dying to talk to reporters, Mr. Governor, but let me tell you, it is they who are dying to talk to you. Is it really possible that Rod Blagojevich is going to survive this? Is the case against him, what we know of it now, is it actually a strong legal case? Do I need a talking down here? Oh, yes, I do. Joining us now is the former Chicago federal prosecutor who is more famous than Patrick Fitzgerald, the zillion-selling author and attorney Scott Turow. Mr. Turow, many thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you, Rachel. It's nice to be with you again.
Here's your chance to talk me down about this case. Is the evidence in the criminal complaint, the wiretap transcripts and all the rest of it, does it indicate a strong legal case against the governor?
With all deference to my dear friend Ed Gensen, I think the answer to the question is yes. It indicates a very strong case against the governor.
How much harder is it to get an indictment than it is to put together a criminal complaint of the kind that Mr. Fitzgerald did last week? I'm wondering why he jumped publicly when he had just the complaint ready but no indictment.
I think he jumped for the reasons that he said, because he was afraid that something bad was going to happen and people were going to find his delaying to get his case tidied up inexcusable. And in terms of an indictment, there's an old saying that a prosecutor can get a grand jury to indict a ham sandwich. So he certainly didn't choose the easier route. In fact, having to prepare a 78-page complaint for the scrutiny of a federal magistrate actually is the harder way to go in this case.
Do you think that it's fair to describe it as a hurry-up press conference, though? Do you think that there is a sense in which this was rushed?
Well, there's no question it was rushed. I think Pat Fitzgerald, in the remarks that you quoted, was basically admitting that it was rushed, that the normal progress of the case would have had it indicted in the spring. And the consequence of that is that he's going to lose the ability to use the grand jury much sooner than would be the case if he waited. But you know, his reasons for proceeding seem relatively clear. What in the world would happen in the state of Illinois if it were revealed in May that a U.S. senator had been appointed as a result of a process that was so tainted?
Sure. You wrote in the New York Times last week that Patrick Fitzgerald does not have a history of using the justice system to preempt the operation of other democratic institutions. That said, he is holding up the impeachment proceedings in the Illinois House. He is, at least we hear, he is holding up the efforts of the president-elect to sort of clear himself publicly. How could those things hurt his case? Why might he be delaying those other things?
Well, you never want your witnesses to be making multiple statements because they're bound to be inconsistent. Nobody ever repeats a story the same way twice, exactly the same way twice. So you don't want to create inconsistencies. And what they want, I'm sure, is to get the first crack at these witnesses in the grand jury, where their testimony is under oath and can be used in court if there's any variation.
Does talking about selling a political office constitute a crime? If it hasn't reached the stage of offers given or received, if they're just talking about it?
Well, you know, attempted bribery cases are traditionally not popular with juries. I lost one myself years ago. Juries regard it as crime in the head. In other words, bad thoughts, but not actual bad conduct. And certainly when it is political horse trading, is routine in our political process, it's even necessary. But when you say, I will trade this appointment for a $300,000 a year job for me, you, in my opinion, have crossed the line. If he said, you know, I would like to be appointed to a cabinet position, as he ostensibly did, that's a different matter, because you can argue that there's a public interest being served by the governor being in that cabinet position, no matter what we might think about that today.
So him saying, I want to be energy secretary would sort of be just gross politics, but him saying, I want that fat salary, I don't care what the job is, that's a crime.
That crosses the line, because you're into the private benefit in exchange for a public act.
One last question here about the federal nature of these charges. An attorney named Maureen Martin just wrote in the Chicago Tribune that even if this conduct is heinous, she said none of it would amount to a federal crime without interstate commerce, that our Constitution doesn't allow every local bribery incident to be classified as a federal crime. Do you think she's right about that?
Well, yes, she's right about that, but the interstate commerce threshold has been defined in a way that virtually all conduct in American society passes that test. So I don't think that's going to be a bar here either.
So, Scott Turow, you're the first person in the history of the Rachel Maddow Show to successfully talk me down and convince me he's going down?
Well, we'll see, and I agree with Eddie that the governor deserves his day in court if that's what he wants. But we'll see what happens. I think I'm pretty confident what the outcome will be.
Scott Turow, former Chicago federal prosecutor, Chicago native, and best-selling novelist. Many thanks for your time tonight, Scott.
You're more than welcome. It's good to be with you.